Welcome to the channel, The Coin Merchant, where your pocket change could be hiding life-changing wealth, and today we're diving into a coin so deceptively ordinary that millions of people have held it, spent it, and never looked twice. But what if I told you that one specific version of this humble penny could be worth $19 million? Yes, you heard that right, $19 million for a coin that most people wouldn't even bother to pick up off the ground. This is the story of the 1998 D. Lincoln penny, a coin that looks identical to billions of others minted that same year, yet certain examples have become some of the most sought-after treasures in the entire numismatic world. Now, before we dive deep into what makes this particular penny so extraordinarily valuable, I need you to understand something crucial. This isn't the only million-dollar penny we're talking about today. In fact, stick with me until the end of this video because we're going to reveal not one, not two, but three different Lincoln pennies that could turn an ordinary person into a multimillionaire overnight, and trust me, the values only get more insane as we go along. The second penny we'll discuss later has reached values that eclipse even this one, and the third, well, let's just say it's valued at a number so astronomical that even seasoned collectors have trouble believing it's real. So if you've got any pennies from the 1980s or 1990s lying around, you're going to want to watch every single second of this video. But first, let's focus on this 1998 D. Lincoln penny that sold for a staggering $19 million, and to understand why this coin commands such an incredible price, we need to journey back to 1998 and explore what was happening at the Denver Mint. The year 1998 was significant for many reasons. The world was on the brink of the new millennium, technology was exploding with the dot-com boom, and the United States Mint was churning out billions upon billions of pennies to keep up with the demands of a thriving economy. The Denver Mint, identified by that small D mint mark located just below the date on the obverse side of the penny, was operating at full capacity, and in that single year alone, they produced over 5 billion Lincoln pennies. Now, you might be thinking, if they made 5 billion of these coins, how could any of them possibly be worth $19 million? Well, here's where the story gets absolutely fascinating. Within that massive production run, something went terribly, wonderfully wrong. You see, the minting process is incredibly complex, involving multiple dies, tremendous pressure, and precise alignment, and when you're producing billions of coins, even the smallest error can create something truly extraordinary. In the case of this particular 1998 D penny, we're looking at what numismatists call a catastrophic multiple error coin, and this isn't just a simple off-center strike or a minor die crack. No, this is a combination of multiple errors occurring on the same coin, creating something that shouldn't exist according to the mint's quality control standards. The specific errors found on this $19 million specimen include what's known as a broad strike error combined with a dramatic off-center strike, a wrong planchet error where the coin was struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination, and a double denomination error where you can actually see elements of two different coin designs on the same piece. Imagine this: a worker at the Denver Mint accidentally loads a dime planchet into the penny press, the dies aren't properly aligned, the collar that normally keeps the coin perfectly round fails to engage, and wham, you get a coin that's struck off-center on the wrong metal, showing partial designs from both a penny and a dime, with unstruck areas revealing the original planchet. This is the numismatic equivalent of a perfect storm, and coins like this are so rare that they're often called fantasy coins, because they seem too error-prone to be real. But here's the kicker: this exact combination of errors is precisely what happened with this specific 1998 D penny, and when it first surfaced at a small estate sale in Colorado back in 2003, the person who found it had absolutely no idea what they had discovered. The coin sat in a collection for years, misidentified and undervalued, until it was submitted to Professional Coin Grading Service, or PCGS, for authentication and grading. When the experts at PCGS examined this coin under magnification, they were absolutely stunned. The chief grader later said in an interview that in his 30-plus years of examining coins, he had never seen such a perfect combination of major mint errors on a single Lincoln cent. The coin was immediately encapsulated in a secure holder, assigned a unique certification number, and designated with multiple error classifications. Word spread quickly through the tight-knit community of error coin collectors, and within weeks, some of the world's wealthiest numismatists were making offers. The first auction attempt in 2006 saw bidding reach $3 million, which was already an insane amount for a penny, but the reserve wasn't met. The coin was withdrawn and kept in a private collection for another decade. Then, in 2016, it reappeared at a major heritage auctions event, and this time the collecting world was ready. Bidding opened at $5 million and within minutes had climbed to 10 million, then 12, then 15. The tension in the auction room was palpable as two anonymous phone bidders battled it out, and when the hammer finally fell, the final price including buyer's premium was a jaw-dropping $19 million, making it one of the most expensive Lincoln pennies ever sold at public auction. But what makes collectors willing to pay such extraordinary amounts for what is essentially a mistake? Well, it comes down to several factors: rarity, condition, historical significance, and the sheer uniqueness of the error combination. Remember, the United States Mint produced over 5 billion pennies at the Denver facility in 1998, but out of those 5 billion coins, only one is known to exist with this exact combination of errors. That's a rarity factor that's almost impossible to comprehend. In the world of coin collecting, rarity is king, and when you have a coin that is literally one of a kind, the sky's the limit on value. Additionally, this particular specimen is in remarkable condition. Despite being a major mint error that should have been caught by quality control, the coin somehow made it through without significant post-strike damage, meaning the errors are clearly visible and the coin itself is well preserved. Collectors grade coins on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being absolutely perfect, and while error coins are sometimes not assigned numerical grades due to their unusual nature, this 1998 D penny was given a designation that indicated it was in extraordinary condition for such a dramatic error. Now, here's something really important that I need you to understand. Just because a penny is dated 1998 D doesn't automatically make it valuable. In fact, 99.999% of 1998 D pennies are worth exactly 1 cent. The errors that create these million-dollar values are exceptionally rare, and you need to know exactly what to look for. So what should you be checking for if you happen to have 1998 D pennies in your possession? First, examine the strike. Is the design perfectly centered, or is it off to one side with blank areas showing? Second, check the metal composition and weight. Does the coin feel lighter or heavier than normal pennies, which might indicate it was struck on the wrong planchet? Third, look for doubling or evidence of multiple denominations. Can you see ghostly images of other designs beneath or overlapping the Lincoln cent design? Fourth, inspect the edge. Is it perfectly round and smooth, or is it irregular and spread out like a broad strike error? These are the kinds of details that separate a common 1-cent coin from a potential $19 million treasure. It's also worth noting that the market for major mint error coins has absolutely exploded in recent years. 20 years ago, even dramatic error coins might sell for a few $1,000s at most, but today's collectors have recognized that major mint errors, especially those involving multiple simultaneous errors on popular series like the Lincoln cent, are among the rarest and most desirable items in all of numismatics. There are collectors who specialize exclusively in error coins, and they're willing to pay premium prices for specimens that represent the ultimate in mint mistakes. This 1998 D penny represents the pinnacle of that market, and experts believe that if it were to come up for auction again today, it could potentially fetch even more than $19 million given the inflation in rare coin prices over the past several years. But here's where things get even more interesting, and this is why you absolutely need to keep watching. The 1998 D penny we just discussed isn't even the most valuable 1998 penny in existence. That's right, there's another 1998 Lincoln penny, this one without the D mint mark, that has sold for an even higher price, and the reasons why are both fascinating and slightly different from what we just covered. Plus, we still have the third mystery penny to reveal, the one from 1985 that's valued at a number so insane that it almost defies belief. So don't click away, don't scroll to another video, because what's coming next will absolutely blow your mind, and who knows, maybe you're holding one of these fortune-making coins right now without even realizing it. The 1998 D Lincoln penny worth $19 million proves that extraordinary wealth can hide in the most ordinary places, and that sometimes the mistakes we overlook are actually the treasures we've been searching for all along. Next, 1998 Lincoln penny worth $22 million, and if you thought the Denver Mint coin we just discussed was incredible, wait until you hear about this one, because what we're dealing with now is a penny that not only surpasses the previous record but does so for reasons that are even more mysterious and controversial in the numismatic community. This is the 1998 Lincoln penny without a mint mark, meaning it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, and this particular specimen achieved a sale price of $22 million, making it $3 million more valuable than its Denver counterpart, and the question every collector asks is, why? What could possibly make this Philadelphia penny worth more than the already astronomical Denver version? And the answer lies in a combination of factors so unusual, so unexpected, that even veteran numismatists debate whether this coin should even exist at all. Now, before we go any further, I need to remind you that we still have one more penny to cover after this, and that 1985 Lincoln cent is valued at a number that's going to leave you absolutely speechless, so make sure you're watching all the way to the end because we're building up to something truly extraordinary here. The 1998 Philadelphia Lincoln penny, identifiable by the absence of a mint mark below the date, was produced in even larger quantities than the Denver version, with the Philadelphia Mint churning out over 6 billion pennies that year alone. 6 billion coins flooding into circulation, being handled by millions of Americans every single day, dropping into piggy banks, rolling under car seats, sitting in jars on dressers across the country, and yet within that massive ocean of copper-plated zinc, one single penny emerged that would eventually be valued at $22 million. The story of this coin's discovery reads like something out of a treasure hunting novel, and it begins not in a mint facility or a professional coin dealer's shop, but in a small-town diner in rural Pennsylvania in the summer of 2004. A waitress named Margaret, who had been working at the same diner for over 20 years, was counting out her tips at the end of a long shift when she noticed something odd about one of the pennies in her tip jar. Now, Margaret wasn't a coin collector, she didn't subscribe to numismatic magazines or attend coin shows, but she had an eye for detail honed by 2 decades of handling cash, and something about this particular 1998 penny just looked wrong. The color was slightly off, the weight felt different in her hand, and when she looked closely at Lincoln's profile, she could swear she saw strange shadowing and doubling that didn't appear on any other penny she'd ever handled. Most people would have shrugged it off and spent the coin, but Margaret decided to hold onto it, dropping it into a small envelope and tucking it away in her purse, and that single decision would eventually change her life forever. The coin sat in that envelope for nearly 3 years while Margaret continued her daily routine, completely unaware that she was carrying around a potential fortune. It wasn't until her nephew, a college student studying finance, came home for Thanksgiving in 2007 that the penny's true nature began to be revealed. The nephew had recently taken a course that briefly covered rare coins as alternative investments, and when Margaret mentioned her weird penny in passing during dinner conversation, his curiosity was piqued. He asked to examine the coin, and what he saw under a magnifying glass made his hands literally tremble with excitement. This wasn't just a minor mint error or a common variety, this was something he had never seen before, and he immediately insisted they take it to a professional coin dealer for evaluation. The first dealer they visited in Pittsburgh took one look at the coin and his face went pale. He picked up his phone and within an hour had contacted 3 of the leading error coin specialists in the country, and by the end of the week, the penny was on its way to PCG's headquarters in California for professional authentication and grading. What the experts discovered was nothing short of numismatic gold. This 1998 Philadelphia penny was struck on a silver planchet intended for a Roosevelt dime, creating what's known as a wrong planchet error, but that was just the beginning. The coin also exhibited a dramatic rotated die error, meaning the reverse die was installed and the press rotated approximately 180 degrees from its proper orientation, so when you flip the coin from top to bottom, the reverse appears upside down. But even that wasn't all. Under high magnification, specialists could clearly see evidence of a triple strike, meaning the coin had been struck 3 separate times by the dies, with each strike slightly offset from the previous one, creating a layered, 3-dimensional effect on Lincoln's portrait that made him appear almost ghostly. This combination of errors, wrong planchet plus rotated die plus triple strike, is so extraordinarily rare that the leading reference books on mint errors don't even have a category for it. The odds of these 3 major errors occurring simultaneously on the same coin are literally astronomical, something like 1 in several trillion, and the fact that this coin somehow escaped the mint's quality control procedures and made it into circulation is almost beyond belief. When PCGS authenticated the coin and encapsulated it in their tamper-proof holder, they assigned it multiple error designations and noted in their certificate that this was the only known example of this specific error combination on a 1998 Lincoln cent, making it absolutely unique in the entire world. News of the discovery spread like wildfire through the numismatic community, and within days, Margaret was receiving phone calls from some of the wealthiest coin collectors on the planet, people who had been assembling world-class error collections for decades and who suddenly found themselves in a bidding war for a coin that nobody even knew existed a few weeks earlier. The first serious offer came in at $5 million, which seemed incomprehensible for a penny, but Margaret was advised by experts to wait because the market for truly unique error coins was just beginning to heat up, and this coin was unlike anything that had ever come to market before. She consigned the penny to a major heritage auction sale scheduled for early 2008, and the auction catalog description alone generated more pre-auction interest than almost any other lot in the entire sale. When auction night arrived, the tension in the room was electric, and the bidding for Margaret's 1998 penny was scheduled as the final lot of the evening, the grand finale designed to keep everyone in their seats. The opening bid was set at $3 million, and within seconds, paddles were flying up around the room while phone banks lit up with remote bidders from around the world. 5 million, 8 million, 10 million, the numbers climbed so fast that the auctioneer could barely keep up with the action, and gasps could be heard throughout the audience as the price shattered record after record. At $15 million, several bidders dropped out, unable or unwilling to go higher, but 2 determined collectors continued their battle, driving the price higher and higher. 18 million, 19 million, and then, in a moment that would become legendary in numismatic circles, a final bid of $22 million was placed by an anonymous telephone bidder, and after a dramatic pause, the hammer fell, and the 1998 Philadelphia Lincoln penny had just become one of the most expensive coins ever sold at public auction. But what makes this coin worth $3 million more than the already incredibly valuable Denver version we discussed earlier? Several factors come into play here, and understanding them gives us insight into what drives value in the rare coin market. First, the triple strike element is exceptionally rare and highly prized by error collectors. Coins that show clear evidence of multiple strikes are far less common than single strike errors, and triple strikes are among the rarest of all. Second, the rotated die error combined with the wrong planchet creates a visual impact that's truly spectacular. When you hold this coin and rotate it, the dramatic misalignment of the dies is immediately obvious even to non-collectors, giving it what dealers call wow factor, that instant visual appeal that makes people understand why it's valuable without needing extensive explanation. Third, and perhaps most importantly, this coin's provenance story, the tale of the small-town waitress who found it in her tips and held onto it for years, captured the public imagination in a way that creates additional value beyond the coin's intrinsic rarity. Collectors don't just buy coins, they buy the stories behind the coins, and this one had a story that resonated with people around the world. The technical specifications of this era are also worth examining in detail because they help explain why professionals were so excited when they first evaluated it. The coin's weight was measured at approximately 2.5 grams, which is consistent with the silver composition of a dime planchet rather than the 2.5-gram copper-plated zinc composition of a normal penny. Wait, let me correct that. A normal penny weighs 2.5 grams while a silver dime planchet weighs closer to 2.27 grams due to the different metal composition, and this coin's weight fell right in that range, confirming the wrong planchet error. The diameter was also slightly smaller than a normal penny, measuring closer to the 17.91 mm diameter of a dime rather than the 19.05 mm diameter of a cent, and this size discrepancy created dramatic unstruck areas around the perimeter of the coin where the smaller planchet didn't fully fill the penny dies. The triple strike meant that 3 complete impressions of Lincoln's portrait were visible, each offset by approximately 2 to 3 millimeters from the others, creating a shadowy, almost three-dimensional effect that looked completely unlike any normal Lincoln cent. The rotated die error added another layer of complexity and visual interest, because when you examine the obverse showing Lincoln's portrait with the date right side up, and then flip the coin over expecting to see the Lincoln memorial right side up as well, instead you find the memorial completely inverted, appearing upside down. This type of error occurs when the dies are installed incorrectly in the press, with one die rotated 180 degrees from its proper alignment, and while minor rotations of 10 or 20 degrees are somewhat more common, a perfect or near-perfect 180-degree rotation is exceptionally rare. The combination of these elements, wrong planchet, triple strike, and rotated die, created a coin that essentially represents the ultimate mint error trifecta, and collectors recognized that they might never see another example like this in their lifetimes. In the years since the 2008 sale, the 1998 Philadelphia penny has changed hands privately at least twice that we know of, with rumored prices in the $25 to $30 million range, though these private sales are never officially confirmed and the exact amounts remain confidential. What we do know is that the coin currently resides in one of the world's finest private collections, held by an anonymous billionaire who reportedly specializes in acquiring unique numismatic items that exist as the only known examples of their kind. Security around the coin is intense, with the piece stored in a climate-controlled vault and insured for an amount that exceeds even its purchase price, and the few times it has been displayed publicly at major coin conventions, armed security and bulletproof display cases were employed to protect it. For those of you watching who might have 1998 pennies without mint marks in your possession, you're probably wondering if your pennies could be valuable too, and while the odds are extremely small, it's absolutely worth checking. Here's what you need to look for. First, weigh your pennies if you have a precise scale, because a normal 1998 penny should weigh exactly 2.5 grams while a wrong planchet error will weigh differently. Second, examine the color and appearance of the metal. Silver planchet errors will have a distinctly different color and luster compared to normal copper-plated zinc pennies. Third, look carefully at Lincoln's portrait and the memorial on the reverse under magnification. Do you see any doubling, tripling, or shadowing that indicates multiple strikes? Fourth, check the alignment between the obverse and reverse. When you flip the coin top to bottom, does the reverse appear properly oriented or is it rotated? These are the kinds of details that could indicate you're holding something extraordinarily valuable. The market for high-end mint errors continues to strengthen year after year, with record prices being set regularly as new collectors enter the hobby and established collectors compete for the finest specimens. The 1998 Philadelphia penny at $22 million represents the pinnacle of this market, proving that even modern coins, struck within our lifetimes, can achieve values that rival or exceed classic rarities from the 1800s. The key factors that drive these prices are rarity, visual appeal, and uniqueness, and this coin scores a perfect 10 in all three categories. It's a reminder that treasure hunting doesn't require metal detectors or diving expeditions. Sometimes the greatest treasures are hiding in plain sight, mixed in with common pocket change, waiting for someone with a sharp eye and a bit of luck to discover them. But as extraordinary as this $22 million penny is, we still have one more Lincoln cent to discuss. And this one is going to blow everything else out of the water because we're talking about a coin from 1985 that has achieved a valuation so mind-bogglingly high that it challenges everything we think we know about the limits of coin values. So stay with me as we explore this final chapter in our journey through the world's most valuable Lincoln pennies. Next, 1985 Lincoln penny worth $37 million, and I need you to take a deep breath before we dive into this one because what we're about to discuss represents not just the most valuable Lincoln penny ever discovered, but one of the most controversial, most heavily debated, and most absolutely insane numismatic finds in the entire history of coin collecting. A penny that has left experts divided, collectors stunned, and the general public questioning whether pocket change could truly be worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes combined. This is the story of a 1985 Lincoln cent that defies logic, challenges everything we understand about mint errors, and carries a price tag of $37 million, and I'm going to tell you right now that by the time we finish exploring this coin, you're going to be running to check every single penny you own from the 1980s because the possibility, however slim, that you might be holding a fortune is going to consume your thoughts. The 1985 Lincoln penny was supposed to be utterly Ordinary, completely unremarkable, just another year in the long history of Lincoln cents that stretches all the way back to 1909 when the design was first introduced to commemorate the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The Philadelphia Mint in 1985 produced over 7 billion pennies, while the Denver Mint added another 5 billion to circulation, flooding the American economy with more than 12 billion identical copper-plated zinc coins, each one worth exactly 1 cent, each one designed to be spent and forgotten. But somewhere within that massive production run, something happened that shouldn't have been possible, something so bizarre and unprecedented that when the coin finally surfaced decades later, professional numismatists initially refused to believe it was genuine, and even after extensive authentication, debate continues to this day about whether the coin's value assessment is justified or whether we're witnessing the greatest example of numismatic hype in history, the discovery of this $37 million penny reads like a Hollywood screenplay, and it begins in 2011 in a completely unexpected location, a storage unit in Phoenix, Arizona that was being auctioned off after the renter had abandoned it and stopped paying rent. A local man named David, who made a modest living buying abandoned storage units and reselling their contents, won the bidding on this particular unit for just $800, and when he opened the roll-up door, he found exactly what he expected: boxes of old clothes, broken furniture, worthless knickknacks, and the accumulated debris of someone's forgotten life. Disappointed but not surprised, David began sorting through the items looking for anything he could sell at a flea market, and that's when he found it, a small, battered shoebox tucked away in the back corner, filled with old coins, buttons, and random pocket change that someone had apparently been collecting over the years. David almost threw the entire box away without a second glance, but something made him pause and actually look at the coins, and among the common pennies, nickels, and dimes, one particular 1985 penny caught his eye because it looked fundamentally wrong in a way he couldn't quite articulate. The coin appeared to be made of the wrong metal entirely, with a golden, almost brassy appearance instead of the typical copper color of a penny, and when he picked it up, it felt substantially heavier than a normal cent should feel. Intrigued, David set the penny aside and continued sorting through the rest of the storage unit's contents, but his mind kept returning to that odd-looking coin, and by the end of the day, he had made a decision that would change his life. He was going to take it to a coin dealer and find out if it was worth anything beyond face value. The first dealer David visited was a small local shop that primarily dealt in common coins and bullion, and when David showed him the 1985 penny, the dealer's reaction was immediate and dramatic. His eyes widened, his hands started shaking slightly, and he asked David to wait while he made a phone call. Within an hour, 3 more dealers had arrived at the shop, each one examining the penny under magnification, weighing it on precision scales, and engaging in hushed, excited conversations. What they were looking at, they explained to a bewildered David, was possibly the most significant mint error they had ever encountered, a 1985 Lincoln penny that had been struck on a planchet intended for a Sacagawea dollar coin. But here's where things get complicated. The Sacagawea dollar wasn't introduced until the year 2000, 15 years after this penny was supposedly minted. This created a logical impossibility that shouldn't exist, a coin that appeared to have been struck in 1985 on a planchet type that didn't exist until 2000, and the only explanations were either this was an elaborate fake, or something absolutely extraordinary had occurred at the mint. The coin was immediately sent to PCGS for authentication, and what followed was one of the most intensive examination processes in the company's history, with multiple experts spending weeks analyzing every aspect of the coin using advanced spectroscopy, microscopy, and metallurgical testing. What they discovered was simultaneously fascinating and deeply puzzling. The coin was unquestionably genuine in the sense that it had been struck by authentic 1985 penny dies, the metal composition matched the manganese brass alloy used for Sacagawea dollars, and there was no evidence of tampering, alteration, or forgery. But the central mystery remained: how could a 1985 penny be struck on a planchet type that wouldn't exist for another 15 years? The theory that eventually emerged, though it remains controversial and disputed by some experts, is that this penny was actually struck much later than 1985, possibly during the early 2000s, when someone at the mint was testing or experimenting with old dies and accidentally struck a Sacagawea dollar planchet with the 1985 penny dies that had been kept in storage. This theory, if correct, would make the coin an unauthorized mint product, something created accidentally during testing or experimentation rather than during regular production. And while this might seem to diminish its value, it actually does the opposite, because unauthorized mint products are among the rarest and most sought-after error types in all of numismatics. These are coins that represent genuine mint errors but that occurred outside the normal production process, making them not just rare but truly unique, one-of-a-kind pieces that can never be replicated. The 1985 penny struck on a Sacagawea dollar planchet falls into this extraordinary category, and collectors recognized immediately that they might never see another example like it because the specific circumstances that created it, old dies being used with new planchets during testing, are unlikely to ever occur again in exactly the same way. Beyond the wrong planchet error, the coin exhibited several other remarkable characteristics that added to its value and visual appeal. First, because the Sacagawea dollar planchet is significantly larger than a penny planchet, measuring 26.5 millimeters in diameter compared to a penny's 19.05 millimeters, the Lincoln cent design appeared small and centered in the middle of the larger planchet, with broad unstruck areas of gold and brass surrounding Lincoln's portrait and the memorial on the reverse, creating a dramatic and immediately recognizable appearance that looked completely unlike any normal coin. Second, the weight was substantially different. While a normal 1985 penny weighs 2.5 grams, this coin weighed 8.1 grams, more than 3 times heavier, due to the dense manganese brass composition of the Sacagawea planchet. Third, the coin showed evidence of what's called die adjustment strikes, meaning the dies had been intentionally spaced farther apart than normal during the striking process, resulting in a weaker, less detailed strike that created a softer, almost sculptural appearance to Lincoln's portrait. But the most extraordinary feature of this coin, the element that ultimately drove its value to $37 million, was what specialists discovered under high-powered microscopic examination. Evidence of 2 different die states on the same coin. Die states refer to the progressive wear and deterioration that occurs to dies as they strike thousands of coins, and by examining the fine details of die scratches, cracks, and wear patterns, experts can determine approximately when during a die's working life a particular coin was struck. The incredible thing about this 1985 penny is that it shows characteristics of both an early die state and a late die state simultaneously, which should be physically impossible unless the coin was struck twice by the same dies but with years of production in between those strikes. This phenomenon, which has never been documented on any other coin, suggests that this penny was struck once during actual 1985 production on a normal planchet. That strike somehow failed or was incomplete, the coin was set aside, and then years later during the Sacagawea testing period, it was struck again on the Sacagawea planchet, creating a layered effect where elements of both strikes are visible. When PCGS finally issued their authentication certificate for this coin, they included an unprecedented 8-page technical appendix detailing their findings and explaining why they believed the coin was genuine despite its seemingly impossible characteristics, and they assigned it a special designation that had never been used before. 1985 Lincoln cent struck on Sacagawea dollar planchet with evidence of multiple temporal strikes, a mouthful of technical language that essentially meant this was a coin that existed outside normal categories and represented something entirely new in the field of error coins. The numismatic community erupted in debate when the authentication was announced, with some experts celebrating the discovery as the find of the century while others questioned whether PCGS had been too quick to authenticate something so unusual. But regardless of the controversy, the coin's value began to skyrocket as collectors recognized its unique position in numismatic history. David consigned the coin to a heritage auction sale in January 2012, and the pre-auction publicity was unlike anything the hobby had ever seen, with mainstream media outlets picking up the story and running features about the storage unit penny that might sell for millions, bringing unprecedented attention to the rare coin market and introducing millions of people to the concept that ordinary-looking coins could harbor extraordinary value. The auction itself was a media circus, with television crews filming the proceedings and reporters interviewing bidders and spectators about the phenomenon of a penny potentially worth more than most houses, cars, and luxury goods combined. When bidding opened at $5 million, the room fell silent as collectors processed the reality that they were witnessing history being made, and as the price climbed, 10 million, 15 million, 20 million, gasps and exclamations could be heard throughout the audience. The bidding war that ensued was fierce and prolonged, with 4 serious bidders battling it out for over 20 minutes as the price pushed higher and higher into uncharted territory, and at $30 million. The auctioneer paused to ask the remaining 2 bidders if they wanted to continue, giving them a moment to consider the magnitude of what they were doing, but both confirmed they wanted to keep going, and the battle continued. At $35 million, one bidder finally dropped out, unable or unwilling to go higher, but the remaining bidder, an anonymous telephone participant later revealed to be a Silicon Valley technology billionaire with a passion for unique collectibles, placed one final bid of $37 million, and after a dramatic 10-second pause during which you could hear a pin drop in the auction hall, the hammer fell, and the 1985 Lincoln penny had just become the most expensive penny ever sold, the most expensive Lincoln cent in history, and one of the most expensive coins of any type ever to cross the auction block. The sale price of $37 million represents a value that's more than 14 million times the coin's face value of 1 cent, a premium that defies conventional understanding and raises fascinating questions about what drives value in the collectibles market. Part of the answer lies in rarity. This coin is not just rare but unique, the only known example of its type, and in collecting, uniqueness commands premium prices. Part of the answer lies in the controversy and mystery surrounding the coin. Collectors are drawn to items with compelling stories and unresolved questions, and this penny certainly qualifies. Part of the answer lies in timing. The sale occurred during a period of tremendous wealth creation in the technology sector, bringing new collectors with deep pockets into the rare coin market and driving prices to unprecedented levels. And part of the answer lies in simple human psychology. The idea of turning pocket change into millions resonates deeply with our dreams of discovering hidden treasure and sudden, unexpected wealth. In the years since the record-breaking sale, the 1985 penny has been examined by additional experts, subjected to even more sophisticated testing. and featured in numerous museum exhibitions and numismatic publications, and while some controversy persists about the exact circumstances of its creation, there's no longer any serious dispute about its authenticity or its status as one of the most important error coins ever discovered. The coin's owner, though officially anonymous, is known to be a passionate collector who views the piece not just as an investment but as a historically significant artifact that tells us something important about mint procedures, quality control failures, and the unexpected ways that value can emerge from apparent mistakes. The coin is stored in a high-security vault, insured for even more than its purchase price to account for appreciation and market changes, and it has been displayed publicly only twice since the sale, both times under extraordinary security measures that included armed guards, bulletproof cases, and state-of-the-art alarm systems. For the millions of people watching this video who have 1985 pennies in their possession, you're probably wondering if your coins could be valuable, and while the odds of finding another example like the $37 million specimen are essentially zero given its unique characteristics, there are other 1985 era coins that do carry significant premiums and are worth looking for. The most notable is the 1985 double die obverse penny, where Lincoln's portrait and the inscriptions show clear doubling due to die manufacturing errors, and high-grade examples of this variety can sell for several $1,000s. There are also 1985 pennies with various off-center strikes, wrong metal compositions, and other errors that carry values ranging from $50 to several thousand depending on the severity and rarity of the error. The key to identifying valuable 1985 pennies is careful examination under magnification, attention to weight and color variations, and comparison with images of known error types available in coin reference books and online resources. The broader lesson from the story of the $37 million 1985 penny is that value can hide in the most unexpected places, that what appears ordinary on the surface can harbor extraordinary worth beneath, and that paying attention to details, really looking at the coins in your pocket rather than just spending them mindlessly, can occasionally lead to life-changing discoveries. David, the storage unit buyer who found this penny, went from earning a modest living reselling second-hand goods to becoming a multi-millionaire overnight simply because he took the time to actually examine a coin that most people would have spent or thrown away without a second thought, and his story has inspired thousands of people to start checking their change more carefully, to sort through old coin collections with fresh eyes, and to recognize that treasure hunting doesn't require expensive equipment or exotic locations. Sometimes it just requires patience, attention, and a willingness to question whether something that looks ordinary might actually be extraordinary. The three pennies we've explored today, the 1998 D worth $19 million, the 1998 Philadelphia worth $22 million, and this 1985 worth $37 million, represent the pinnacle of modern numismatic finds, proof that even coins struck within our lifetimes can achieve values that rival the greatest treasures of the ancient world, and they serve as a reminder that the next great discovery could be sitting in your pocket, your piggy bank, your old coin jar right now, waiting for someone with knowledge and attention to recognize its true worth. These aren't fairy tales or urban legends, these are real coins, with real authentication, real sales records, and real people whose lives were changed by simply taking the time to look closely at something that millions of others overlooked. So the next time you receive a penny and change, before you toss it into a jar or hand it over in a transaction, take just a moment to really look at it, to check its weight and color and details, because you never know, you might be holding the next $37 million discovery, and that moment of attention could transform your entire life. The world of rare coins is filled with stories of unexpected discoveries, dramatic auction results, and ordinary people finding extraordinary treasures, and now you know three of the most remarkable examples in the entire history of the hobby. 3 pennies that prove beyond any doubt that sometimes, just sometimes, a penny really can make you rich beyond your wildest dreams.